Today we are going to discuss about the concept of area and volumes in percentage. Because questions are being asked about about if radius increases or decreases by certain percentage, then what will be the corresponding change in area and the volumes. Area and volumes. The first figure we will take is the circle. If it is the radius of circle, then circumference of circle will be 2 pi r and area of circle will be pi r square. Here circumference is 2 pi r, which implies circumference is directly proportional to radius because 2 is constant and pi is constant. Therefore circumference is directly proportional to radius. Here area is pi r square, which implies pi is constant, which implies that area is directly proportional to radius square. If radius increases or decreases by some percentage, then what will be the effect on the circumference and the area? We will discuss in this. Take circumference here. And area here. We know circumference of circle is equal to 2 pi r and area of circle is equal to pi r square. Here circumference is 2 is constant, pi is constant, therefore circumference is directly related to radius. And here area is directly related to radius का square. It is linear relation. And it is parabolic relation. It means circumference is linear related with the radius and area is parabolically related with the radius. Linear relationship means if radius increases or decreases by some certain percentage, circumference will also increase and decrease by the same percentage. If radius increases by 10%, circumference will also increase by 10%. If radius decreases by 10%, circumference will also decrease by 10%. That is the case with the linear relation. In parabolic relation, it is not that. If radius increases by 10%, area will not increase by 10%. If radius decreases by 10%, area will not decrease by 10% because there is not linear relation. Suppose radius increases by some percentage, let's take 10%. The original circumference of circle will be C1 2 pi r1 and original area of circle will be A1 will be pi r1 square because r1 is the original radius. Now if radius increases by 10%, new radius r2 will become, increase it by 10%, it will become 1.1 r. It is new radius, it is old radius. New radius increases by 10%, so multiplying factor will be 1.1. Here also new radius will be 10% more than original radius. R1 is the original radius and R2 is the new radius. Now new circumference will be 2 pi and R2. Here new area will be pi R2 का square, which implies new circumference will be 2 pi and R2. R2 is what? 10% more than R1. 1.1 times R1, which will be 2 pi R1 into 1.1, which will be 2 pi R1. What is 2 pi R1? 2 pi R1 is circumference, original circumference. Therefore it will be 1.1 times original circumference, which implies new circumference will be, it is original circumference and it is, this factor is what? It is 10% more. It means circumference will be 10% increment. New circumference increases by 10%. Now the conclusion made is, if radius increases by 10%, circumference will also increase by 10%, because there is a linear relationship. In a linear relationship, if one parameter increases by some certain percentage, the other parameter will also increase by same percentage. Coming to the area. Area is not linear relationship. So if radius increases by certain percentage, area will not increase by the same percentage. Here original area will be pi r1 square. If radius increases by 10%, it will be 1.1 times original radius. Now the new area will be pi r2 ka square. Simplifying this, a2 is pi r2. R2 is what? 10% more than r1, and it is square. Therefore a2 will be pi r1 square will be r1 square and 1.1 ka square. So a2 will be pi r1 square, it is a1 original area, and 1.1 square. 1.1 square is 11 square is 1.21. Here the conclusion is the area increases by 21%, because the multiplying factor is 1.21, which implies that area increases by 21%. It is original area and it is new area. New area is 21% more than the original area. So the conclusion made is, for parabolic relation, the parameters do not change with the same percentage. If one parameter increases or decreases by some certain percentage, the another parameter will not increase by the same percentage. That is the case with area. Now take another figure. That is the 3D figure, sphere. Sphere is a 3D figure. It is not circular, it is sphere. If this is the radius of sphere, surface area of sphere is 4 pi r square, and volume of sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube. Here surface area is directly proportional to radius square and volume is directly proportional to radius cube, because 4 pi and 3, these are the constants. Here surface area is directly proportional to radius square and volume is directly proportional to radius cube. Again, let us discuss surface area and volume differently. Surface area and volume. Volume will be V, surface area say S. We know surface area is 4 pi r square, which implies surface area is directly related with radius square, and volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube, which implies volume is directly related with radius cube. Now if radius increases or decreases by some percentage, what will be the percentage change in the surface area or volume? These type of questions are asked in examination. Here surface area is related with radius and it is parabolic relation. And here it is cubic relation. Since these are not linear relations, so the increase in radius will not be equal to the increase in surface area or volume. Now if radius increases by 10%, the original surface area will be S1 is 4 pi r1 square. If radius increases by 10%, then it will become new radius 1.1 times r1. 1.1 means 10% increment, and the new surface area will be 4 pi and r2 का square. That will be S2 4 pi and r2 is what? 1.1 times r1 square. By simplifying, s2 is equal to 4 pi r1 will be r1 square and 1.1 square, which implies that s2 will be 4 pi r1. 4 pi r1 is s1 and 1.1 square will be 1.21, which implies that surface area will increase by 21%. Here it is parabolic relation, so the increment will not be equal to the 10%. It will be equal to 21%. Now, volume of the sphere. Let us take original volume is 4 by 3 pi r1 cube. If radius increases by 10%, it will be 1.1 times r1, and it is new radius. New radius becomes 10% more than original radius, and the new volume will be 4 by 3 pi, these are constants, and radius will be r2, 1.1 times r1 cube. By simplifying, we get new volume is 4 by 3 pi r1 cube, and the factor will be 1.1 cube. So new volume will be 4 by 3 pi r1 cube will be the original volume, and 1.1 cube, 11 cube 1331, so it will be 1.331. Hence the new volume will be 33.1% more than original volume. Since it is not a linear relation, so the increment will not be equal to the 10%. That was the case with the circumference. Now let us summarize all the cases. Here is circumference, here it is area, and lastly it is volume. Circumference is 2 pi r, and area of circle is pi r square, and volume of sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube. It is area and it is volume. Circumference is linearly related with radius, area is related with radius parabolically, and volume is related with radius cubically. If radius increases by 10%, 10% increment in the radius, the new radius will be 1.1 r. It is original radius and it is new radius. Now, circumference. Since circumference is linearly related with radius, so if radius increases by 10%, circumference will also increase by 10%. Area and volume will not be increased by 10% because these are not linearly related with radius. Hence, circumference, new circumference will be directly related with radius, and area will be, new area will be related to radius square, and volume will be related with radius cube. Hence circumference will be 1.1 r1, area will be 11 square will be 121 r1 square, and volume will be 11 cube will be 1.331 r1 cube. Hence circumference will increase by 10%, area will increase by 21%, and volume will increase by 33.1%. Now if radius increases by 20%, 20% increment the radius, so the new radius will be 1.2 times original radius. Here circumference is directly proportional to radius, area is directly proportional to radius square, and volume is directly proportional to radius cube. Radius increased by 20%, so the new radius will become 1.2 r. Here the circumference is directly proportional to radius, therefore it will be 1.2 r. It will be 1.2 r square, and it will be 1.2 r cube. So the new circumference will be 1.2 times r. It will be 12 square will be 1.44 r square, and 12 cube will be 1.728 r cube. And is when the radius increases by 20%, circumference will increase by 20%, area will increase by 44%, and volume will increase by 72.8%. Again, take another example. If radius decreases by 10%, so the new radius will become 0.9 r1. It is original radius and it is new radius. New radius will be 10% less than the original radius. Now, circumference is directly related with radius, area is directly related with radius square, and volume is directly related with radius cube. When radius decreases by 10%, so the new radius will become 0.9 times r. So circumference will directly proportional to radius, 0.9 r1. Area is directly proportional to radius square, 0.9 r1 square. And volume is directly related to radius cube, 0.9 r1 cube. And the new circumference will be 0.9 r, and new area will be 0.9. 0.9 square will be 9 square will be 81, and 0.9 square will be 0.81 r square. And 0.99 cube will be 729, and 0.9 cube will be 0.729 r1 cube. Hence, if radius decreases by 10%, the new radius will become 0.9 r. Hence, circumference will decrease by 10%, area will decrease by 19%, and volume will decrease by 1 minus 0.729. That is equal to 0.271%. That is 27.1% decrement. Now solve some questions on the same concept. If the radius of circle is increased by 20%, what will be the percentage change in circumference and the area? यहाँ पे एक सर्कल है, इसकी रेडियस हमने 20% से इंक्रीज की, और हमें क्या बताना है कि सर्कमफ्रेंस और एरिया में कितनी परसेंटेज चेंज होगी. यहाँ पे circumference, we know circumference is 2 pi r and area is pi r square. If r is the radius of circle, the original radius r1 and the new radius r2 will be, new radius will be 20% more than original radius, so new radius will be 1.2 r1. It is 20% more than original radius. Now circumference, the original circumference will be 2 pi r1 and the new circumference will be 2 pi r2. R2 is 20% more than r1, so new circumference will be 2 pi and 20% more than r1, so the new circumference will be 2 pi r1 and the factor will be 1.2, so the new circumference will be 2 pi r1. 2 pi r1 is original circumference and the factor is 1.2. Therefore the new circumference will be 20% more than original circumference, which implies that circumference will also increase by 20%. Why it also increases by 20%? Because circumference is linearly related with the radius. Now area, the original area A1 will be pi r1 square and the new area A2 will be pi and new radius square. The new area will be pi and new radius. New radius is 20% more than the original radius, that is 1.2 r1 square. So the new area will be pi r1 square and the factor will be 1.2 square. 12 square is 1.44, and pi r1 square will be original area. Therefore, new area will be, it is the original area pi r1 square, and the factor will be 12 square will be 1.44. Hence the area will increase by 44%, which implies that area will increase by 44%. In examination, you should avoid these calculations because circumference is directly proportional to radius, area is directly proportional to radius square. If radius increases by 20%, circumference will also increase by 20% because these are linear related. Therefore, C2 will be directly proportional to 1.2 times R. It will also increase by 20%. Here the area will is directly proportional to radius square, that is 1.2 R square. So it will be 1.2 square will be 1.44 R square. So the area will increase by 44%. Take another question on the same concept. If the radius of sphere is increased by 10%, find out the net percentage change in the volume. Here it is a sphere. Sphere is a three-dimensional body. We know surface area of sphere is 4 pi r square, and volume of sphere will be 4 by 3 pi r cube. Surface area is directly proportional to radius square, and volume is directly proportional to radius cube. It is parabolic relation, it is cubical relation. Now, if radius of sphere is increased by 10%, first to the original volume. Original volume will be V1 is 4 by 3 pi r1 cube. R1 is the original radius. Now the radius increased by 10%. So the new radius will be R2. It will be 10% increment. It will be 1.1 R1. Now new volume. New volume will be 4 by 3 pi R2 cube. R2 is the new radius, which will be 4 by 3 pi, and R2 is what? It is 10% more than R1. 1.1 R1 cube, and it will be V2 will be 4 by 3 pi R1 cube, and the factor will be 1.1 cube. Therefore, new volume will be 4 by 3 pi r1 cube. It is the original volume 4 by 3 pi r1 cube. So it is V1 into 1.1 cube. 1.1 cube is 1.331. So new volume is 33.1% more than the original volume. Therefore, volume increases by 33.1%. In examination, what you have to do, since volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube, 4, 3 and pi, these are the constant. Therefore, volume varies with respect to the radius only. If radius increases by 10%, volume will increase by 1.1 cube. If radius increases by 20%, volume will increase by 1.2 cube.